Hey there, it's Heidi Larson Hurley, and I'm back for another really cool edition of Creating and Exploring. And I'm always excited, but I'm even more excited because today we're going to explore landscapes. What are landscapes? Oh my gosh. Landscapes can be anything. Like as soon as I say the word landscape, people think of mountains. Oh, what's that guy, Bob Ross, happy clouds with mountains and streams and stuff. People think of all kinds of different things for landscapes, but landscapes are more than just landscape. Let's take out the word land and call them scapes. Think for a second. What are all the different types of scapes you can think of? Like, what do you see? And you're in your car, you're driving along, and you're in the city. That's a cityscape. How about a countryscape? How about a seascape? We have urban scapes. We have so many different ways that we can explore this. You can make a moonscape. How's that? One of my third grade students, we were talking about scapes and he made a moonscape. I think that's like the best one ever. So think about all the possibilities, that you can explore. And that's why we're doing this. I want to talk about what makes a scape or a landscape interesting. There are masters that are out there, and we'll talk about those a little bit. But there's different things to think about to make a landscape interesting, all right? So a little bit about myself. I'm Heidi Larson Hurley. I am the creative director at the Braintree Community Arts Center. I'm a retired art and design educator for many years, and I'm just so happy to be here to share what I know. Am I an expert? No. But am I enthusiastic? Absolutely. The whole point of this is to get you to explore. There's no right or wrong. So I like to call those aha moments, and there's no mistakes. You don't have to show anyone. You don't even have to do this. You can just watch and get inspired, and then maybe someday pick up your sketchbook or pick up a piece of paper or do something and do it on your own. That's the goal here. The goal is for you to explore. That's why it's called Creating and Exploring. Get that? So the aha moment is when you try something and you say, I like that, right? Now, if you try something and you don't like it, should you keep doing it? Try it. It doesn't happen the first time you do it, and maybe you need to just keep trying and exercising. I play golf. I play golf, and I need a lot of practice. Really bad. Was I really good the first time I went out? No, but you get better with practice. The same thing with exploring and creating. Trying out materials, seeing if you like it, what works for you, what happens. Okay, so I want to make sure that you try those things out. So the other thing is I just want to plug in because we have open studios at the Braintree Community Arts Center. And it's from 11:30 to 1:30 on a Tuesday at the Braintree Community Arts Center. I might give a demo, kind of like what I'm doing here, and you can try all the materials. Just come on by. Try Braintree Parks and Recreation Department, and they have the sign up, or you can just show up and we'll help you when you get there, okay? So let's get into landscapes. I'll talk about materials. So today I thought what I would do is explore, and I'm going to explore with watercolors, and I've got crayons, my favorite, which you all know. And what I want to do is just talk about and explore different ways to make a landscape. That's one of the big things. Am I going to make a masterpiece today? I hope so, but I'm going to make lots of masterpieces. So I'll have a bunch of different ones to try out, so you can try those things out. So what I have is my watercolor set. So my watercolor set is just one of those basic sets that I have. You can use watercolor tubes, you can use acrylic, you can use whatever it is that you would like to use. And I've got an assortment of paintbrushes, and I've got my water and a paper towel. I've got my favorite brush. I also have a masking tape that I'm going to be using, and I'll show you and demonstrate with that. I also brought big, huge graphite pencil stick. This is something that I'm just going to sketch real quickly and show you how I can sketch. And I have an eraser that goes with that. I also have crayons. I have an assortment. They don't make any sense. I just stuck my hand in the bag, pulled a bunch of them out, some of my favorite colors. Let's see what we come up with that. And then I have different types of paper. I've got a watercolor paper, and I have pastel paper. So the pastel paper comes in different shades and different colors. And if we have time, I'll go through it and I'll show you how I might use that. Especially sometimes with watercolor, you can get some beautiful, fun effects. So let's get started a little bit more because I want to go into the types of scapes and talk about the components of a scape or a landscape. There are 3 important words that I want you to know, all right? So we have something called the background, something in the back. So you remember that, that's background. We have something in the front, and I'm going to call that foreground. And then we have something in the middle. So background, middle ground, foreground. To make a picture exciting or interesting to look at, you're going to have these components, a background, a middle ground, and a foreground. And one of the things that people tend to do is they start on the foreground first, and then they find that they have to paint around the foreground to get there. So I'm going to show you some tips on how to work with it and how to get there. There's also something that when you're working with a landscape, you're going to have the background, middle ground, and foreground, but it's not, each level is going to be different, or it's going to look different. It's going to act different. So I have these handy dandy little technique things here that do you remember those forms, those whatever you stick them on there? So I want to show you, this is my blue sky that I've got going here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work backwards to the forwards. Is that right? Backwards, forward. So I'm going to take my background and I'm going to say, let's pretend those are some mountains. And that's my background. All right, so I've got a background. Then the next thing I want to do is I want to take and I want to add my middle ground. And if you notice, this is a little bit darker. So we've got the middle ground. And finally, we've got what we like to call the foreground, or the front of the picture. So what's happening here is that your eyes are sending you backwards as the color recedes and goes backwards. I'm going to say it incorrectly, but the term is like atmospheric perspective. So what happens is when your eyes are looking out to the distance, what's further back is coming across as being lighter. And I hope that makes sense to you. I hope you can understand how that works. But when I'm standing on a cliff, or I'm standing on the edge, or I'm standing somewhere and I'm looking out, whatever's closest to me will appear darker. There'll be more details. There'll be all kinds of interesting things to look at in the foreground. When I go backwards, I start to lose some details in the middle ground. And then finally in the background, I can hardly make some things out. Maybe if it's a really clear day, you make up the day, it's your day, but things tend to be way in the background. You can't really see those details. Some masters are really, really, really good at, just amazing with this. And I have some samples that I'll show you. There's something called realism, where you take that painting and you feel like you're there. You know, you feel like you're there in the moment. You're standing on the edge of the cliff. You can hear the bees buzzing. You can hear the wind blowing. Everything is right there. It's so realistic. And then you have abstract paintings. David Hockney has these paintings that are abstract, bright colors, but they're landscapes. but I still feel like I'm there. They have some sort of depth. And that's what's happening here. I'm going backwards into this background. So once I've done that and I've created my background, middle ground, and foreground, then I can start to figure a few things out. So I'm going to take this off, and what I want to do is show you with items how that works. So the same item, 3 different sizes, and I want to demonstrate how that works. So if I take, again, I have my handy dandy forms here. I'm going to take these trees, and yes, those are trees, even though they're triangles. Let's see, let's put that one there. We'll say 3. And then I want to have some more trees come closer to me, and I'm going to take this tree, maybe overlap it just a little bit, and then I'm going to take another tree. Without even indicating the grounds, they look like these trees are coming towards me. And then finally in the foreground, I've got the most beautiful, beautiful triangle pine tree. And that triangle pine tree is in the front, in the foreground, in the front. So I feel like I'm in the woods. I can run through the little trees. I'm a bunny, and I'm hopping between them, and I'm going around. But you've got your foreground, middle ground, and background. So when I combine that, say with this, if I have my big trees in the front, middle trees in the middle, and smaller trees in the background. So it doesn't have to be trees. It could be houses. It could be buildings. It could be people. It could be all. Oh, I saw this really cool picture this weekend of skiers skiing down a mountain. And I immediately went into art teacher mode, and I'm looking at the picture. The skiers closest to me are bigger. The ones in the middle are smaller, and the ones in the back. I was, oh, I could use that for the lesson. You know, I'm so excited. You know, like anything. You look at the. Oh, anyway, you get what I mean. But that's what I'm trying to get at. You can have a lot of fun with foreground, middle ground, and background, and you can just experiment beforehand. I tend to take my pictures and have something in the foreground to make it really interesting. And then I have something in the background that sends me backwards so that my eye travels. And it's not just for me, it's for the person looking at my painting. So if the person's looking at my painting, I want them to go dive into it. Go to that place that's far away, that's in the back, in the distance. Kind of cool, huh? So think about it for a second, and I want you to enjoy that, all right? So I have a really awesome, amazing painting. And this is by Albert Bierstadt. Now, I'm not an expert about the Hudson School. It's called the Hudson River School, but it's absolutely amazing landscape art that happened in the United States. It was an era where these artists were painting these romantic, beautiful paintings. And yes, I did this one the other day. But I want to point out foreground, middle ground, and background. So when you look at this majestic, beautiful painting, it says, looking up the Yosemite Valley. So looking at this picture, in the foreground, when an artist talks about something, they'll say, in the foreground of my picture I have placed, or in the background of my picture I have placed, in the middle ground you might find. You know, so I'm going to go on this exploration right now. In the foreground, there are some amazing, amazing rocks. I mean, these are beautiful rocks. There's trees, there's bushes, there's all kinds of beautiful, there's sticks. I can see the blades of grass. All right, so there is some amazing, amazing stuff happening in here. My middle ground happens to be these people on horses way out in the background, and there's almost a line that kind of goes across. And you can see the haziness of the trees. Now here's something to point out. These trees that are in the foreground are darker than the trees that are in the middle ground. So they go back with that atmospheric perspective. And then finally in the background for this, there's beautiful Yosemite hills, hardly any color to it at all. It's like if with watercolor, if I were to do that, you know, it's hardly any color. Fred, do you see that? There's no color, right? It's pretty cool. It's really, really light and some beautiful clouds. Where does my eye travel with this? When I look at this, these rocks are sloped in. These trees are pointing in this direction. I've got this beautiful central area that's right here. It's almost like the valley echoes to about this point. And the lightest part of the painting is right here where the sun's reflecting. And look right there, there's like almost a reddish brown horse. This is amazing. This was done in 1865 to 67, before cell phones, before all that stuff. So this is a beautiful, beautiful picture. And I just wanted to share it with you. Again, it's the Hudson Valley painters. And if you're interested in Hudson Valley, Hudson River School, but take a look at this or look it up if you want to find out more about romantic, beautiful landscape painting. I'm not at this caliber, but I can teach you how to paint like it, right? So we can try to get there and use those skills. All right, so let's go here. So we've talked about background, middle ground, foreground. We've taken those, and the other part that goes with a picture would be something called horizon line. And I'm just going to rip this off, and I'm just going to tell you a little bit about horizon line so that when you think about your compositions, when you're putting them together, you can think about where you want to go. I'm not going to get too much into perspective and all that, because that's another whole thing. But when you're an artist, or when you're painting, or when you're trying to put together a landscape or some sort of picture like Bierstadt did, he thought about it. You know, he thought about where is the viewer? Where am I? Where am I the painter? How do I want to look at this? How do I want to make it more interesting? So I'm just going to draw a piece of paper. Let's pretend that I'm making this beautiful masterpiece that's here. So the horizon line is when the sky meets the land. For all of you that think that we're going to fall over the edge, there's no white space in between there anymore. We are round, so it keeps going around to the edge. So our horizon line, let's do that in a purple. I shouldn't say what you don't want to do, because if you want to do it, go right ahead. But normally, you wouldn't put your horizon line smack dab in the center of a paper. And the reason why you wouldn't put it smack dab in the center of the paper is for interest. You could go a little below or a little bit above, whatever it is that you want to do, but you would make your horizon line a little bit below there. So I'm going to take this and I'm just going to draw what's called my horizon line. So this is where the land meets the ground. So if I was to do a mountain range and start in the background, here's my mountain range there. And then maybe here I've got some more trees or something that's there. And then I have my foreground. So I have foreground, middle ground, background. And then this might be beautiful clouds. So when I'm working with that, so here, and there's so many dramatic, beautiful, beautiful paintings when the horizon line is way down here. What do you think they're emphasizing when the horizon line is low? The beautiful sky, you know? So if I make my horizon line down here, here's my horizon line. I've got my background, middle ground, and then I've got my foreground. And then this is it's like a big thundercloud. It's going to be beautiful sky, and there's sailboats sailing and whatever. So you can see how dramatic it can change. One more. Let's make this horizon line up here. Now I'm looking up, right? And what I'm doing with this, I've got my mountains, or I'm going up this heavy road here. And then I've got more foreground with this one that's happening here. It's kind of cool if I take my road, my windy road that's going into the background. You know, I can make it go into the background. You know, just this, you change emphasis of what you want to have there. So if you're doing a beautiful seascape, I might do something similar to this, because what I want to do is I want to have water, air. And sometimes people talk about the 3-3-3s into thirds. You don't necessarily want to be in thirds, but you want to think about those 3 different areas when you're working. All right, so we've talked about foreground, middle ground, background. We have talked about horizon line, to think about where do you want to put these things when you're putting them on the piece of paper. And so what I'm going to do is just demonstrate with crayons, maybe a little bit, just to show you how I might set something up and work with that. And then finally, I'm going to end with working in paint, so that you can see how exciting and how much fun that could be. So I'm just going to set this up. I don't know if you can see it with pencil, but I'm just going to set up a piece of paper here. And so immediately what I'm going to try to do, I'm doing this from my imagination, so I don't have any particular place in mind. I'm thinking in my head, you know, and I might change as I go along. I tend, oh, let's do this. But what I'm going to do is make my horizon, I'll do what I'm comfortable with. How's that? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my horizon line right here. I've made it below center. And what I want to do is think about my background. There, I go to a place on the Cape. I'm in the harbor right now, and I have this Scraggy Neck and Nye's Neck. If anybody knows where that is, bonus. So I have the water in the background. So here's my background. There's probably a buoy or something right about here. And then I've got the middle ground that might be a jetty. That's here. And then over here I might stick a dock. So I've got foreground, middle ground, and background. My jetty, I just kind of put that in there. I'm going to have some rocks. And then my dock, I'm going to overlap over that to make it look like, oh, isn't that fun? So let's do it in let's do it in crayons, because I just love crayons. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, I'm going to work backwards, forward. I'm working backwards forward because what I want to do is I want to leave out the spots and save my details. And this is crayon, and I'm just really quickly, this isn't just rough, and I'm just going through this. And when it hits the horizon line, it's usually a little bit lighter than the rest of it. Again, I love crayons. I told you I did not pick anything. I don't even know what the colors are. I just love it. I just play with it, make it happen. And again, I want it to get lighter as it goes towards the horizon line. Right? So we've got a little sky action going here. Usually when there's a horizon line, when the sky touches the water, it's almost a violet color, so I just took that in there. I've got my green, it's lighter here, and then I have green over here. And I'm going to add a little bit of orange to kind of play with that color a little bit, because maybe the leaves are changing color. So now I have the background here with the water, and I'm going to lightly go across. Just bringing this across. Going right over it. And then I've got my jetty. Of course, I don't have a jetty color, but I'll make it anyway. So I'm gonna, here's my brown. Remember from one of the other ones when we talked about color, what colors do we get when we mix opposite colors? So I'm making kind of a brownish color here. And I'm gonna emphasize on the jetty. And then finally I'm gonna take my dock and I'm gonna make my dock. So this is gonna be darker and bolder. All right, here's my dock. Gotta get that seagull on there, right? But I'm not ready for him. So again, here we go. I'm gonna go into this. Okay, so I'm taking this, I'm gonna just play some more. Get these clouds, the landscape in the background. Oh, this is awesome. I need a seagull definitely on here. If I wanted to lighten something up a little bit, especially with crayons, what I would do is maybe take a white crayon, which I don't have, but I would take that and put that on top of there. Here I have just done foreground, middle ground, background. So again, foreground, middle ground, and this water is going to be a little bit darker because it's closer. So I'm going to take that blue. All right, sideways, not too bad for, what was that, 5 seconds? But again, that's foreground, middle ground, background. Normally, would you count on the sky and the water being your foreground, middle ground, and background, unless the major emphasis is there. So one of the things that I wanted to share with you is what we did with the, if I can find it. Oh, here it is. Hello. When I was at the Art Center, we did landscapes. And what we did is, again, a study of foreground, middle ground, and background. But what we did is we did multiples all at one time. And these are taped off, and they're not finished, but maybe I'll peel the tape just so you can see it. But this is the exact same scene, but done 5 different ways, right? So we've got background, which are the purple mountains. This is somewhere in Vermont or something. Middle ground, which is the field, and if you zoom in really close, which I don't know if you can see it that much, but there's little houses and sheep and a fence. And then the foreground, we're trying to put these beautiful birch trees in here and bring them into the picture. So you can see that I'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different variations of that, so you can see how it works. So we're going to do something similar. So what I'm going to do is show you how to do maybe a seascape and a mountainscape with watercolor. And then what's going to happen is you'll be able to see how that works. Maybe I can do even more than that. I might get so excited. But again, with this masking tape, all you have to do is just remove, which is the best part of all of this. It's a painter's tape, painter's masking tape. It doesn't stick to the paper. So what happens, you just peel it away, and it gives you the framed little pictures. Isn't that fun? Like, it's just like nice. It's just this beautiful thing. So once I finish these others, and I can cut them out, and oh well, I have all these dreams of things that I can do. So let's think about this for a second. We're gonna take this piece of paper, and I'm going to divide this into 2 landscapes. And then what I'll do is maybe divide, see if I can do another one. And I'm going to work 2 at the same time. Why am I doing 2 at the same time? One is to show you how you can do it. But the other thing is while I'm working on one, the other one can dry. And so I can go back and forth between the two. So I'm going to divide this paper in half. And we'll go like that. So what's great about the tape, I mean, let's say you want it a specific size, or you want it to be a certain dimension or something. So I can add more tape to this, just so that this one might be a little bit less rectangular. And then on this one here, I might do the same thing. But for now, for purpose, I'll just leave it here. This is taped onto a sheet of Masonite. You can use cardboard. I like to use the backs of paper, the stuff that paper comes on. I don't know what you call that, the backing. And I like to tape things onto there because when I do that, it's free, but it's also kind of a fun way to work. So I have my watercolor set. I'm going to not use my pencil because I'm just going to use my brain. I know, that could be dangerous. But what I want to do is just take this and have a blast, have some fun. So could someone from the audience please yell out, do we do ocean and mountain, or does somebody else have a choice? I think what we'll do is we're gonna do mountain and then ocean. All right, my two favorite things to do. So mountains, I just came back from Vermont, and Vermont, first of all, it's beautiful. And second of all, it was snowing when it was, 50 and 60 here. So in my brain, I just have this beautiful picture of snow with the mountains and the pine trees and birch trees that stuck out. So what I want to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to work backwards forward. And I'm going to start with my sky. I'm going to go to my background. And then I'm going to add my middle ground, which will be some trees and some more area. And my foreground right here is going to probably be a tree with branches and a few other things that happened in here. So to start, I'm going to wet my paper. And because it is, and this paper that I'm using is absolutely beautiful. It's an Arches watercolor paper. And I can feel it right there. So I'm going to use kind of a gray with a little bit of tinge to it. I'm just going to kind of, it was a gray, not very beautiful. And I'm just going to let that float right there. Just let it be. If it starts to drip, you can do the magic vacuum where I squeeze out the excess water on my paintbrush, and all I'm going to do is just pick it up. I call it the magic vacuum. My elementary school kids loved it. It's probably all they did. No, I'm just kidding. No, you know it. So I've got this. I'm going to let that dry a little bit. So down here is going to be the opposite. I'm going to have this one be the ocean. So this one is going to be a bright, beautiful day. And again, I'm using the watercolor. I'm going to have this come all the way down to about here. I'm below center. And I'm going to pick up on this beautiful blue. And again, I just get so excited about this stuff. Right at the corner, let it happen. Just let it happen. I'm not doing anything here, but just look at that. I'm going to vacuum this up a little bit so it doesn't drip down my page. It's okay if it does. But what's happened is up here is the darker, more brilliant blue, and it's catching up with the water and it's dripping down. And I can always add more water if I want to. And if I wanted to take it off of here and turn this and do all that, I could do that too. Another fun thing to do is to take your brush and take everything out and then just erase away. See what happened? Isn't that fun? This guy's not dry yet, but I'm going to add a little bit more sky, make it a little bit darker. It's the storm's coming in maybe. And then with that, I might put a little bit of violet. Ooh. And how do I know which one's violet? I'm not quite sure. We'll figure it out. There it is. Take this. Oh, 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 it was so hard to ski. I'm telling you, my goggles were dark, and it was snowing. It was beautiful, but I'll tell you what, I couldn't see a thing. It was like, wah! All right, totally different things happening here. How cool is that? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work from here. I'm going to go into the background, and I'm going to make some mountains way in the background. I'm going to mix a violet with a dark green. And the reason why I'm doing that is because of the atmospheric thing that's happening, but also I want it really, really light. So if I don't have it, but it's okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of, this is my background. It's way in the background. There's a storm going on. I can't really see it. You know, it's like way in the background there. It's beautiful. So here, on the bottom, we're almost done. Kind of the same thing, but this time I've got those, my favorite place in Megansett. I'm going to take this, and I'm going to mix a little green and violet again because it's so far away. And again, and in a distance, I'm going to make land. Far away, I'm in my boat, you know, and I see there's land somewhere. And I'm going to, you see what I've just done? We've got background. I've got my sky. Now I have background. So to make middle ground, for here, I'm going to have another set of mountains that's going to happen. So I'm going to make those a little bit more intense with color. And then what I want to do is make it, I've got the violet, and it's a little bit more intense. So now I'm just going to kind of, I like to leave it a little bit. Little snow thing there. Oh, isn't that beautiful? Don't you wish you could go there? Oh, I'm so excited. Oh, this is so pretty. And so then down in here, I'm going to have another landmass that's going to kind of stick out that's here. But before I do that, I want to make my water that's here. So I'm going to make some Cape Cod. Beautiful, oh, Cape Cod water. And people go for blue. I go for lots of color, right? And this is going to be a little bit more intense. Let's mix some more in there. And what happens, because it's getting closer to me, I'm going to make that a little bit darker. I'm going to leave a little bit for my foreground and let that dry. I'm going to add some brown. Can you see it? Like both of these. I haven't done anything. All right. So foreground, middle ground, background. This is snow. This is beautiful. I've got maybe a couple snow drifts that are going to go in here. Just different parts of this. So foreground is darkest, middle ground, background. So my back trees, I'm going to have them be lighter. So I'm going to mix a lighter, almost like a green gray, and I'm just going to add some trees that are in here. These are in the background. Little groups of trees. I can't say happy little trees because that's wrong. Happy little trees. So I'm going backwards. middle ground is this area that's here, but I could stick another like tree a little bit bigger, make them a little bit more intense with color. It's always good to break those lines from the horizon and break it. And all I'm doing, I'm using the same brush. I'm just kind of going into this. Lisa, that's in our group, she loves pine trees. She wants to be able to paint these pine trees that she got them in her imagination. And she has photos of them, and she tries to get, she's try to capture them. Just keep working on it. Keep doing it. Keep trying. Fred sticks a cardinal in there, which is a good idea. So these trees are in front of the trees that are way in the background. So again, we're going backwards to see what's more interesting. That's a kind of ugly tree. I'll go back into that. And then I'm going to go down here, because this is dry. So I'm back and forth and back and forth. I'm having such a good time. I'm going to take this and create kind of like a sandy color for my beach. Oh, I've got to get some seaweed in there, right? All right. I need to get my foreground. I've got my background. Now I want to put my middle ground and something in the front. So this one, I'm still missing my foreground. Is it dry enough for me to work on? Sure. What about a fence? Ha! Foreground fence, I can add a lot of detail to it, and I can get into that. So I can go into this using that same brush. Maybe I'm just going to break it up a little bit. Okay, I've got a fence starting in there. I don't know if I like it, but I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to leave that, and I want to just put a little, watch this, shadow, lots of water, some of that light blue, the light's coming from this. Like I wouldn't see, I've got that happening. All right, back to this. What do I need in the foreground? My old standby, I love to put beach grass. I can hear my brother Hal going, beach grass, why is there beach grass there? Well, maybe I want to stick a rock and something else in there, but I'm going to be stuck with my middle ground. What do I need? Maybe I need to put a boat. All right, I've got a boat that's going to go in there. I'm going to use the same paintbrush. I'm not going to make it black. I don't use black. I'm going to stick this color that's here, and then I'm just going to kind of, there's a sailboat that's out there. Oh, look, why did I put it in the middle? I don't know. Maybe there's another guy with him. There we go. Look at that. Oh, it's a storm coming. Oh, I got to make it more stormy. So we're going to take it. See, this is what's so much fun. I'm going to make it storm. See, it's coming in. Use your imagination, right? Oh, look at that. They're racing home because a storm is coming. God, that's great, huh? All right. So now I'm going to let that dry, go back to my fence here. Now I am going to cheat. I'm going to get a little tiny brush. I don't know if you can see this brush or not, but this is the tiniest detail brush in the entire universe. It's a 000. It's a 20-aught. Sorry. It's so tiny, but it's wonderful for what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to make the wire on that fence because I don't have my glasses on. Well, they're there. So here we go, glasses. So the thing is that in the foreground, I'm going to have the details. So I wouldn't see this fence. I would not be seeing this fence at all if it was in the middle ground. And maybe I'll stick a fence in the middle ground those poor cows that, you know, they just need their place to go. Look at that, see? How cool is that? And then maybe, if I'm really good, that reflection that's underneath there, because it's such a calm, beautiful day in Vermont, so we can take that and then go across. Are we not having, I'm having a blast. I don't know if you guys are at home, but you know, if you want to make some comments, if you want to see me do something else, you want me to be quiet, you want me, anything you want with this exploring and creating, I'm happy to share with you my knowledge and skills. And if you'd like to be a guest on here, that'd be great. If you want to come to the Art Center, that would be awesome. You know, think about all the ways that you can be creative. How fun is that? Look at that. Ooh, we need bunny tracks. And then the reflection between those with the light blue. Maybe there's a bump in there. These aren't masterpieces, but in my heart they are. I just think they're so much fun. And then all of a sudden you hear from the snowplows. It's a quiet, could be really cool, make it start to snow. So I look at these trees, they need a little bit more intensity, darkness. Watercolor tends to get lighter when it dries, so you might want to go back into something and add some color. It snowed. Pretty fun. Now let's add my beach grass here. Then we're going to go into this. Why am I not using the little tiny brush? Maybe I need a rock or something here first. On the side. Again, this is closer, correct? So we're going to have it okay, maybe you've got a rock over here. This is where you always hurt yourself. It's more detail and darker because it's in the foreground. The sailboats in the background might have more color. And then we're going to take this and add my beach grass. Let's take same brush. And so I'm working on top of these other colors, so I need a little bit of darkness, and then I can work on top. It's very thick beach grass, but that's okay, because I'm going to add some green in there. And make that Rosa rugosa, the beach plums on the side there. Again, if I spent a ton of time and I wanted to make more detail, like, you know, spend a couple hours on this baby. Not really. I work so fast, and then it's like, whatever. Oh, this is so much fun. See, you guys don't understand. This is like a blast. So you got to just get out there and explore. I don't, like, how much fun is this? The storm's coming in. Quick, get to your boat. And then I'm going to let it dry, and I'm going to add that bright fuchsia, the roses. I don't think I need to do too much more to this. What do you think? I don't know. I'm pointing out foreground, middle ground, background. I've got my foreground. I've got my middle ground. Very slightly, I've got my background. The storm is coming in. This is so exciting. I'm going to gather up some of this beautiful fuchsia. And then I'm going to make Beach plum. Here we go. Happiness. Do we need footsteps and seashells? Sure, why not? Such simple, 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 simple. All right, so what we have here is foreground, middle ground, background, two quickies that are not directly in the center. We've got some beautiful stuff that's happening with the landscape. We've got a mountainscape and a seascape. We could do a cityscape. We could do other types of scapes, but this is what we worked on today. So I think I'm going to be wrapping this up a little bit, but what I do want to do is just recap. 3 words, important: foreground, middle ground, background. When you look at a painting, I want you to explore. See if you can find the background. That's probably the easiest one. See if you can find a middle ground. See if you can find the foreground. Look for the details. In the details, you will see the bark of the trees. You'll see and the rocks. I would be able to see the wood grain of this. So that's my details. My middle ground has less detail. Background, you can hardly see anything. We also talked a little bit about horizon line, where the sky meets the land, or a sky meets where the water meets the sky. I'm loving this. This is like fun. But when you take that and you make your picture much more interesting to look at. We talked about the different ways that you can create 5 different pictures at one time, so that you can have the same scene but 5 different ways, so that you're not bored. I do want to point out on this one, on the top row, this is just a continuation. So that's really 3 different paintings but with the same continuation. How much fun is that? It's a thank you note. I love to give thank you notes. We also talked about the Hudson River School. So if you can take a look at that. Some of my favorite artists, I will provide some pictures of some of the artists that I really enjoyed working with. Or not working with, I don't even know them. But working and looking at their work, which is really, really what's most important. David Hockney's one of them. And then I really like Christine Wyeth, Christina's World. So those are some things to work with. So what I want to do is encourage you to explore and create, encourage you hugely to make sure that you like us on Facebook, say, yay BCAM, this is the best thing, we love it. Also share it with your friends. And also, if you want to hit the Braintree Community Arts Center, contact me, or you can just drop on by. So we hope to see you again. So this is Exploring and Creating with Heidi, and it was great seeing you. Thanks. Bye.